Hi, I'm Nicole Wilbur. I'm a writer and story nerd, and welcome back to my channel. It is March. How is it March? That is crazy. We are entering the last month of quarter one of 2022. Oh my goodness. And this is going to be kind of a crazy month for me. So I wanted to sit down and go through my, I suppose, goal setting, planning, all that jazz with you. And just to kind of do a recap of the year, Meredith Phillips again had a great video where she talked about your word for the year. And my word for the year, I think, is really feedback. The biggest change in my writing happened when I went on Scribble for the first time and I started posting stuff and I started getting feedback. That also intersected with me finding the story grid and doing a lot of reading there, and the things kind of connected in my mind and exploded, and it was a beautiful, wonderful moment where I feel like my writing took a huge jump up. Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up. I haven't had a big, huge level up moment since that moment. I've gotten feedback on short stories, I've gotten feedback on individual scenes, and I feel like that's really helped me on that level. I've gotten feedback on novellas, but I have never gotten feedback on a full-length novel before. And ladies and gentlemen, this is my 5th novel that I've written, and no one has ever read any of them. And besides the chatting that I do on my channel, I haven't even pitched it or talked about it or told people anything about these novels, and that is a problem. That is a pattern that I want to break, and that is a pattern that I am breaking this month. I am breaking my pattern by getting feedback. I have a deadline of March 18th. March 18th is when I am going to send the first 50 pages of my book to this editor, book coach that I'm working with. She is so lovely. She literally works with Brandon Sanderson. She's been in the industry so much. And so I'm giving her a 50 pages of the manuscript for critique. Plus, she will read a 10 to 12 page single-spaced this time, because of course 50 pages in industry standard is like 20 pages when you're writing it in your own standard. And she'll read a 10 to 12 page summary of the whole story, as well as like character sheets, any like series outlines, any materials that I give her. And so my first goal on that respect is to get those materials together. So I have to write the summary and I have the character descriptions kind of done and the series outline kind of done. I just have to make them, acceptable for people who aren't me, and then get those first 50 pages in order. At the same time, I am hoping, I actually have a critique partner lined up to swap with on March 18th. And I'm hoping to have one other swap with me around that time as well. So I'm also prepping the manuscript for some critique partner dev stuff. Now, I think I've talked before about how being nervous about how this is basically going against all the writing advice ever of like, don't share your first draft with anyone. Your first draft is sucky. I'm not saying my first draft is good. It's a first draft. It's not. There are problems. There are major problems. But the goal for the editor thing is primarily, her reviews and her sample edits and stuff are so thorough. Her reviews are so good. And basically, working with her is kind of like getting a mini course on writing. So I'm hoping that her edits can help me understand how I can improve my writing of scenes, like in general for any story. And then her comments and things on characters and such for the overall book will be super useful for this story and for others. My hope for the critique partners is like dev critiques. So I kind of have two different goals I'm working towards at the same time. You're seeing this on Friday, which means I have 2 weeks to get it all done. And that is a hard deadline. And it's a hard deadline because on March 18th, I'm also flying to Argentina. I'm gonna pull out my calendar right here and give you an overview of my plans for the next few months. So my plans for this weekend are to write that 10 to 12 page summary, summarizing my book. She was very nice. She gave me a bunch of samples, like a Pirates of the Caribbean example, a Harry Potter example, all sorts of examples. of how to do this summary. So I'm going to be working from those examples, and I'm going to be mostly working from memory and from my outline to create this in-depth summary of the book. There is twofold purpose to that. Purpose number one, I have to do to give it to her. Purpose number two is I'm hoping this will actually help me, writing that out will actually help me see some of the areas where I need to do some fairly light, because I only have 2 weeks, developmental editing. I'm thinking that the summary will become the story that I think I wrote, and then once I write the summary on Monday, I will go back and I will read my book and I will enjoy the story that I actually wrote, and I can figure out where the discrepancies are. So I'm hoping that between writing the summary and then reading the story over on Monday, I'm going to read it through super duper fast and like in one sitting, super duper fast. I'm going to be taking notes. And once I have those notes from the summary, from reading the draft, basically going to take them and I am going to prioritize them. For the full book, I will spend the rest of next week, you can see on the calendar here, doing dev type stuff. So going through the whole thing, beefing up characters. I honestly think like that's the weakest part of this draft. I think the character arc is kind of there, but it's just not coming off enough. There are some threads that I kind of started and kind of dropped and didn't quite address all the way through. I'm thinking of one right off my head. I was supposed to include something in the last scene of the book and I forgot. So I have to go back and I have to add that in. I think the character arc needs to be strengthened. As I said, the foundational stuff is there for what I want, I think. I just have to beef it up. So I'll be going through beefing up a lot of character stuff and filling a couple of the inconsistencies. It's going to be, going through and adding things in here, just following the checklist. The week after that, I'm factoring the fact that I'm supposed to be going skiing. We're going skiing in upstate New York over for my dad's birthday on like March 10, 11, 12, 13, something like that. And so I have to factor that in where I'm not going to have a lot of time that weekend. And so then those last few days are going to be spent dev editing and line editing those 50 pages. I want the 50 pages to be as good as I can possibly get them. I have some feedback from a different editor that I did it with a charity auction. She read the first chapter. She read the first chapter in November, so I can implement her edits. I know the second scene of the book is crap. The rest of it is actually not too bad. I know that there's going to be some things to change. I'm going to do everything from like structuring the scenes properly, trying to make them more interesting, fixing some character stuff, to some line stuff. So I'm going to be going through those 50 pages like quite a few passes, and also editing the summary, making sure the whole package is together. It's not a lot of time, but I do feel pretty confident about it. I like editing. I can do editing. There's a little bit of a thing in here. I'm actually getting on a plane on March 16th. I am going to be going to the States for 2 nights. I'm just going to be in a hotel. And then on March 18th, that morning, I suppose, I'm going to send everything to everybody, send it off. I'm going to get on my plane to Argentina. It is like a 25-hour flight or something ridiculous until I finally get to the Lake District area of Argentina, like Patagonia-ish. And I'm going to be there for 1 month. And during that month, I have a couple of goals, so that's end of March, beginning of April. I'm going to be beta reading for people. I am going to have, I think, 2 projects, or 2 or 3, to beta read for other people. And I feel like that's going to take up quite a bit of time. So that's basically my goal for the end of March, is to beta read other people's stuff. I also have this idea for a short story that is pinging around in my head. So I might work on doing some research and stuff for that story as well. But that's not going to be like a hard deadline. Then on April 15th. On April 15th, I fly from Argentina to Florida. I'm going on a family vacation. My cousins have a condo there. Very exciting. I'm going to say I'm probably not going to get any writing or anything done that month or that week because I'm with my family. And I'm also going to be doing a little bit of work as well. So family time plus work equals writing time. After that, that next weekend, I'm flying to Panama. I'm so excited for the Panama. That is going to be warm and lovely and nice. When I'm in Panama, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be doing. to be totally honest with you. I do want to do some writing. I might be going over feedback that I got on some kind of criminal, and I might be, you know, working on at least consolidating those edits together, maybe doing a reread, putting together like my own game plan for editing. That's kind of one side of it. On the other side of it, I do have another project, which we talked about before. It's called 1837. It is 20,000 words away from being finished, and I just had to pause it last year because I just couldn't slog through it anymore. Like, I was very tired of it. I have a whole bunch of other projects on a roll too. I have Project Musical, which is a finished draft that I just kind of tucked away for a bit. I don't know if I feel like visiting that one. And I also have this play, my play about Alfred Russel Wallace and Charles Darwin. And I feel like that is also something that I could edit if I wanted to. So lots of options, lots of options. And for now, I'm going to keep that April month kind of open as like, we'll see what happens. We'll see what I feel like. We'll see where things are. I do want to give myself a little bit of a break from some kind of criminal somewhere in there, whether it's like putting together the edit letter and then just like tabling it for a bit and then going back and doing the edits in the summer. Once I'm back from Panama, so I'm in Panama for a month, I'm coming back and I'm going to the Boston area. And while I'm in the Boston area, it is very historical kind of setting. And I think that is the perfect place to be like, I am going to be working on 1837 during that time in Boston. You know how your surroundings like affect your mood and your writing and stuff. And like that will get me back into the 1837 mood. So I'm going to have to reread the entire 1837 if I didn't in Panama, and then try to write 20,000 words. And I'm going to be there, I think, for about 3 weeks. So my goal will be to finish the book in those 3 weeks. And that brings us basically to June of 2022. And who the heck knows what I'm doing in June. So that is what we are doing in March and April and May. And for this entire year, it's all about getting feedback so I can improve my writing and close that loop. I want to level up. We're leveling up the novels. Here we go. It's going to be a wild ride. Let me know below what your goals are for March and April and spring and whatever kind of things I just did, or what your plans are if you don't really goal set like me. Whoops. If you like this video, please think about giving it a big thumbs up. It really helps me. I am trying to get moving again with YouTube. It's been stalling, so anyways, your likes very much help me. If you aren't subscribed, please think about doing that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week with another video. Have a wonderful, safe, healthy